Hi everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. I got a viewer question about the tune on my 2020 Katana. He owns a 2020 Katana as well. He's up in Canada. His is black, mine's silver, but he had seen Chris Moore's video that he did relative to the tune on my bike and the performance upgrades that he made to the bike. So I'll put a link here. You could check out that video by Chris Moore. So I thought I'd answer his questions in this video because other of you out there may have similar questions, maybe thinking about getting your bike tuned. It just so happens I got this comment about an hour ago and I was already wearing my Chris Moore hoodie from trying to win some of these giveaway bikes. That hasn't worked out for me, but the tune that he's done on my Katana as well as on my 2023 Hayabusa certainly has worked out very, very well for me. So this isn't sponsored. I don't have any financial arrangement with Chris in any way whatsoever. This is just me as an enthusiast letting you know the unvarnished truth of the tune, and I'll tell you I'm extremely happy with it, but let's get into the details. So first, let's read this comment from Keith. Hi Cycletron, my name is Keith and I own a 2020 Suzuki just like yours, only in black. I absolutely love my 2020 Katana. I was looking on doing some upgrades to it, and when I was looking through YouTube, he saw Chris Moore's video on my 2020 Katana. So after watching this video of you and Chris a million times, I've now sent out my ECU to Moore Mafia and have done most of the upgrades you have done. The only thing I didn't do was change my sprockets. I'm messaging you to say thank you. If it wasn't for you and your videos, I would have never known where or what to do when it came to our katanas, so thank you for that. I would also like to mention that I live in Canada and would like to know how your katana has changed or if you've had any issues since your flash. I trust your opinion and also trust that Chris will work his magic, but honestly, I'm a little concerned because I know very little about motorcycles. I know that I love the katana, Pebbles, my pride and joy, so please get back to me about your experience with Chris and the performance changes or issues, if any, you've had. Thank you very much, sir. Well, very kind of you, Keith, so we're going to get into it in this video. So first, let's go over the changes that were done to my bike. I had the stock exhaust replaced with a Brox Pentacarbon full exhaust. Here's what that sounds like after the tune was done. Chris flashed the ECU to remove the restrictions. Again, stock exhaust. Let's compare it to mine with the Brox exhaust. I had the front and rear sprockets changed. I dropped a tooth on the front sprocket and added 2 teeth to the rear sprocket for way more mid-range punch on this bike. And of course, I took the bike to Chris in Taylor, South Carolina, and he flashed the ECU and dynoed it and got everything dialed in. So I'm very, very happy with it. It's made the bike, it took a great bike and made it even better. And I couldn't be more pleased. I'm actually grateful that he did it. I've owned probably 30 plus bikes in the last 40 plus years. And this is by far, hands down, my favorite motorcycle I've ever ridden. It's just pure joy. Now, some of you complained about the smallish tank at 3 gallons. It is rather small, but it's fine for in-town and near-town riding. So I don't have an issue with it. Now, the performance changes really make this bike go. So let's go back for a second. I got this tune done at Moore Mafia's shop in September of 2022. And then I brought that bike back to South Carolina to go to Chris's drag race school. And I'll show you the run here that Chris did on this bike. All right, traction control's off. So Chris did the tune on this back in September. Did sprocket change, full exhaust, and the tune. Want to see what he can do on this bike. Yeah, now I know what to do.
Somebody else ride their bike, and you're like, that's what I can do.
That's what it can do.
6.7 seconds, 108 miles an hour. So you can see Chris took a naked bike, this Katana, and went the 8th mile in 6.7 seconds at 108 miles per hour. And that wasn't too far off what other people were doing with fully faired bikes and bigger engines. So I'm super thrilled with this bike. And I have to say I've kind of ridden it more aggressively since I've gotten the Tune. So, the biggest impact that I've seen on the Tune is to the gas mileage. Now, I didn't notice that at first because I was riding a lot more conservatively. It just didn't affect the mileage that much. But recently I took a ride. It was an 81-mile ride. And when I filled up at the start of that ride, and when I got back home, I was on fumes. So the average MPG was 27 miles per gallon, which is the lowest I've ever gotten on that bike. But keep in mind, it was all twisty roads. I never got above 5th gear. I passed several people on this 2-lane road. I was riding it in a pretty spirited fashion. So I'd say normally before the Tune, it seemed like I got around 39 miles per gallon, and riding it normally or conservatively, I think it only dipped down to 35 mpg. But like I said, if I stay in lower gear, especially with that sprocket change, and really get on the throttle, it can drop it all the way down to 27 mpg. But again, I had so much fun on that ride. It did what I needed to do. I got home and had a fantastic ride. So, 80 miles is a pretty limited range, but again, it worked for the application that I need it for. So as I mentioned, I got the 2020 Katana tuned by Chris in person and dynoed. And then I bought a 2023 Hayabusa, Gen 3 Hayabusa. And I had a mishap in the driveway where the bike dropped off to the side stand. It was parked on a slight slope that I didn't appreciate, and the side stand retracted and dropped the bike. So it messed up the exhaust can on one side. And I thought, perfect opportunity, since it's going to be in the shop because there was body damage and all that, bodywork damage, to get the exhaust replaced with a Brox pentacarbon full system. And then in this case, I had the dealer that I took my bike to pull the ECU, and I shipped it overnight to Chris Moore. He received it the next day, flashed it that day, and I had it the following day. So the ECU is on my hands for a grand total of 3 days, which is phenomenal turnaround. So let's hear what it sounds like. So what I would say about Chris is I think the work he's done, in my experience, has been top notch. He really has a lot of attention to detail. When I took my 2020 Katana into his place to get the tune done and dynoed, he noticed that my oil level was slightly low, and he topped it off. It was just, again, something his eye caught, because, putting a bike on a dyno, you're really giving the engine a workout. So you certainly don't want to be low on lubricating oil in that situation. So would I do anything different? For the 2020 Katana, they offer a quick shifter option. And I really wasn't aware of it at the time that I did it, but because the 2020 Katana has cabled throttles, it only works in the up direction on the quick shifter. It's not a bi-directional quick shifter, as I have on my 2023 Hayabusa, and as my boys have on their 2024 Katanas that we just bought last October. And those quick shifters are buttery smooth. I mean, they're fantastic. So if I had to do over again, I'd probably get the up quick shifter on the 2020 Katana. I think it'd make it even more fun to ride, and accelerating quickly from a stop. So that's the only thing I would do different. And it's nothing that Chris did. It was just something I didn't really have on my radar at the time. So I hope this answers your questions, Keith, and those of you who are looking to do work on your 2020 Katana, or frankly any bike that you're thinking to either have tuned in person or send your ECU to Chris and have him do the work on it. It's been good. You know, if you send your, either way, if you get your bike tuned and your ECU reflash there, you have the option of getting the pops and bangs. I did that on my 2023 Hayabusa. I didn't do that on the 2020 Katana. I think in retrospect, I might have added the pops and bangs if I were to do it over again to the Katana, just the way I ride it now. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for watching, everyone.